Welcome, dear friends, to part 16 of Exploring the Advent of Divine Justice. And without any further ado, we will have our opening prayer. Thank you.
O thou loving provider, these souls have hearkened to the summons of the kingdom and have gazed upon the glory of the Sun of Truth. They have risen upward to the refreshing skies of love. They are enamored of thy nature, and they worship thy beauty. Unto thee have they turned themselves, speaking together of thee, seeking out thy dwelling, and thirsting for the water brooks of thy heavenly realm. Thou art the giver, the bestower, the ever-loving. Abdul Baha.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wonderful to have everyone here. And today we will be getting into our session. And I will share the screen. So this is the course Exploring the Advent of Divine Justice. And first of all, most importantly, happy Rezvan to every one of you. And I'm wishing you all the happiest and joy during this Rezvan season. So just wanted to wish every one of you that. And today we have a special treat. One of our dear friends, Roy Khadami, will be sharing the presentation with you. And I will just change the slides as she indicates to me. Okay? So you have the floor, dear Roy Jan.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I love our friends. This is really a joy to be part of this learning of this course with Ehsan John, and I think what he is presenting with this example is a wonderful way of how we can assist friends in the process of capacity building as we not just our own qualities and virtues that we expand, and how to assist and encourage other friends to do the same. So he has been most generous to give this opportunity where I can work on building the capacity of learning the material and presenting it. So I hope you bear with me, and I hope that I can present it with much clarity, as Ehsan always does. So today we are starting part 16, and it's the study of paragraphs 59 through 62. And in these paragraphs, it is primarily the study of the twofold crusade that the Guardian, the task of the twofold crusade that the Guardian has given to the North American Baha'i community. And it would explore the two aspects, one more internal, which is the inner life of the individual and the community, the Baha'i community, and one external as how we embark upon remedying and helping to assist with the fight of the evils in the society or the country where we reside. So it's the internal, external part of this twofold crusade. Okay, so we can move on to the next slide, Sanjun. Okay, so here, the Guardian explains to us that in order for us to perform the twofold crusade, that there are three weapons that we, the North American Baha'i community, need to possess and to perfect. So if I could have Jenny, can you read this introduction paragraph, please?
Absolutely. The beloved Guardian identifies rectitude of conduct, a chaste and holy life, and freedom from racial prejudices as three weapons that the American Baha'i community must possess in their twofold crusade. First, to regenerate the inner life of their own community, and next, fight the evils that have been engraved in the life of the American society. In conducting the twofold crusade, the American Baha'i community would experience tests and tribulations. In this section, we shall explore the concept of the inner life of an individual and a community, together with the nature of tests that the American Baha'i communities have to face.
So before we start the reading of paragraph 59, as I was studying and preparing for this double crusade of the Guardian, I came across this wonderful talk by Mr. Glenford Mitchell. And he referred to this beautiful relationship between the tablets of the divine plan, the gift from Abdu'l-Baha to the North American Baha'i community, and the advent of divine justice. And he used this analogy, and I wanted to share it with you all, that he said, if the tablets of the divine plan is the mandate for us for teaching and a gift from Abdu'l-Baha, then the advent of divine justice is the manual, it's a handbook. And Mr. Glenford Mitchell refers to it as a veritable guide for all seasons and for all the time leading up to the golden age of the Baha'i dispensation. And so then he says, you know, these two wonderful guides that out of love, Abdu'l-Baha and the Guardian took the time to explain to us what conditions to expect in the world, so that we would not be frightened, but that we understand what our duty is and how we can prepare ourselves to carry out this sacred duty with confidence. And so having understood the importance of the two, then we need to ask ourselves, how often are we referring to these vital guides and documents, and how much do we refer to it? As I was preparing and studying this, I really feel personally a neglect that, you know, I do not refer to it as often as I should. And I learned through the process that there is so much information and guidance that it is wonderful for it to be part of everyone's reference on a regular basis. So having shared that beautiful analogy that Mr. Glenford Mitchell said, we can start with paragraph 59. Okay, Ehsanjun, could you read paragraph 59 for us?
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Dearly beloved friends, a rectitude of conduct which, in all its manifestations, offers a striking contrast to the deceitfulness and corruption that characterize the political life of the nation and of the parties and factions that compose it. A holiness and chastity that are diametrically opposed to the moral laxity and licentiousness which defile the character of a not inconsiderable proportion of its citizens, an interracial fellowship completely purged from the curse of racial prejudice, which stigmatizes the vast majority of its people. These are the weapons which the American believers can and must wield in their double crusade. First, to regenerate the inward life of their own community, and next to assail the long-standing evils that have entrenched themselves in the life of their nation. The perfection of such weapons, the wise and effective utilization of every one of them, more than the furtherance of any particular plan or the devising of any special scheme or the accumulation of any amount of material resources, can prepare them for the time when the hand of destiny will have directed them to assist in creating and in bringing into operation that world order which is now incubating within the worldwide administrative institutions of their faith.
Thank you, Ehsanjun. And so here, if we pay attention kind of somewhere halfway into the paragraph, where the Guardian refers to these weapons, that he says the American believers can and must wield. You know, it's, you know, with such, you know, it's a must. We need to be possessing and working towards perfection of these three weapons, as the Guardian refers to them. And to show even further how important that is, he says that possession of these three weapons for the individuals and the Baha'i community as a whole is more important than any plan, any accumulation of material means, or any scheme that we can come up with. And so it is really of utmost importance that we pay attention to the three weapons that the Guardian says that we need to perfect within ourselves as individuals and as community, and that how it is more important than anything else that we can come up with and organize and plan for the advancement of,
Excellent.
of the faith.
Roy John, we go to Riaz John. He had raised his hand. Thank you, Roy John.
Yes, yes. Please, Riaz John.
Thank you very much. There's something interesting occurs to me. I want to share it with the friends who are present, and it keeps happening in the words of the, I mean, in the terminology of the beloved Guardian. This keeps repeating. I want to just call it to our attention, so we watch for it in the writings of the beloved Guardian. And it's very interesting. At the end of line 5, we read, an interracial fellowship completely purged from the curse of racial prejudice. In this sentence, I want to call our attention to the use of the word fellowship. Fellowship in relation to interracial relationships. I've noticed that the beloved Guardian keeps, and the House of Justice also, they keep using this word fellowship to describe our relationship among races, so I would like the friends to watch for this word fellowship. It's a very interesting that among all, even friend, it's not, friendship is not used much. I don't know. I can't remember any other kind of description of the relationship, interracial relationships, except what I've noticed is the word fellowship. And so we should, I feel, watch for this word, notice it when it shows up, and at some point later we can explore what is special about fellowship. Anyway, just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Riaz John, for your insights into that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I should mention that Ehsan has beautifully put this study and the slides together, as you will see as we go through them, that we are not lightly going through them by any means, and that each point of each sentence on multiple slides will be discussed and explored. And so I'm really, really appreciative of the masterful work that the Ehsan John has done in these slides. So we will definitely be exploring each word and each sentence of these paragraphs that we are just being introduced to. Okay, so if we could move to the next paragraph. Miss Darla, would you be kind enough to read paragraph 60?
Sure. Paragraph 60. In the conduct of this twofold crusade, the valiant warriors struggling in the name and for the cause of Baha'u'llah must, of necessity, encounter stiff resistance and suffer many a setback. Their own instincts, no less than a fury of conservative forces, the opposition of vested interests, and objections of a corrupt and pleasure-seeking generation must be reckoned with, resolutely resisted, and completely overcome. As their defensive measures for the impending struggle are organized and extended, storms of abuse and ridicule and campaigns of condemnation and misrepresentation may be unloosed against them. Their faith, they may soon find, has been assaulted, their motives misconstrued, their aims defamed, their aspirations derided, their institutions scorned, their influence belittled, their authority undermined, and their cause at times deserted by a few who will either be incapable of appreciating the nature of their ideals or unwilling to bear the brunt of the mounting criticisms which such a contest is sure to involve. Because of Abdu'l-Baha, the beloved master has prophesied, many a test will be visited upon you, troubles will befall you, and suffering afflict you.
So here, just in a short way, the Guardian is talking and explaining the type of tests that tribulations that would befall this community, and that he is asking the valiant warriors that of Baha'u'llah to be ready for that. That this is what is coming, and that this is why he is encouraging and telling us that we must be possessing these three weapons that he is indicating in this double crusade, and that it is not a question that that these tests and these attacks will come. And I'm sure, we can attest that even though we have faced quite a bit of tests, that this type that the Guardian is explaining, we yet have not seen to this severity in the North American Baha'i community. So we'll explore it further, but these were the highlights of the type of tests that the North American Baha'i community will face. Haria, can you read paragraph 61, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Let not, however, the invincible army of Baha'u'llah, who in the West and at one of its potential storm centers is to fight, in his name and for his sake, one of its fiercest and most glorious battles, be afraid of any criticism that might be directed against it. Let it not be deterred by any condemnation with which the tongue of the slanderer may seek to debase its motives. Let it not recoil before the threatening advance of the forces of fanaticism, of orthodoxy, of corruption, and of prejudice that may be leagued against it. The voice of criticism is a voice that indirectly reinforces the proclamation of its cause. Unpopularity but serves to throw into greater relief the contrast between it and its adversaries, while ostracism is itself the magnetic power that must eventually win over to its camp the most vociferous and inveterate amongst its foes.
Sanjan, I believe this paragraph has a continuation, correct? Thank you.
That's correct.
Yes. Already in the land where the greatest battles of the faith have been fought and its most rapacious enemies have lived, the march of events, the slow yet steady infiltration of its ideals, and the fulfillment of its prophecies have resulted not only in disarming and in transforming the character of some of its most redoubtable enemies, but also in securing their firm and unreserved allegiance to its founders. So complete a transformation, so startling a reversal of attitude, can only be effected if that chosen vehicle, which is designed to carry the message of Baha'u'llah to the hungry, the restless, and unshepherded multitudes, is itself thoroughly cleansed from the defilements which it seeks to remove.
So some of the highlights of this paragraph, in short, is how we are told in this paragraph that the army of Baha'u'llah in the West is going to be encountering these, it's going to be a potential storm center, and that we are going to have these fights that will come, that we will do for his name and for his sake, for Baha'u'llah. And that we should not be afraid of any criticism or any condemnation of any sort that would come towards us. And again, it reiterates the importance of why we have been given these three weapons by the Guardian as an armor in order to carry out this double crusade. And the most important part of being able to carry out the double crusade is on the last sentence, in which it's explaining that we cannot be a remedy to the ills of the society, as they're mentioning, if we ourselves are not thoroughly cleansed from the defilements that we are seeking to remove from our nation. So those defilements, what is going to balance out as our armor are the three weapons that the Guardian specifically says. So if we are not perfecting those qualities individually and collectively as a community, then we cannot carry out the external double crusade, which is to aid and assist the American Baha'i community and the nation to overcome these ills that they are suffering from. So it's very important. The first part, the inner life, when the Guardian is saying that we as individual Baha'i community need to possess these three weapons and to live the life and perfect these qualities so that we could do the second part. But without the first part, we can't carry out the second part.
Roya Jan, before we move on, I just want to make one point. Excellent points you've been making. One of the reasons the beloved Guardian uses the term three weapons, talking about this aspect of this army, this great battle, these rapacious enemies, and all of this terminology of war and conflict, is because he was talking to the North American Baha'i community. And North America had already gone through World War I, and it was just on the verge of entering World War II. And so the timing of when the beloved Guardian was writing this was very pertinent in his language. The Baha'is had already seen what war was like. They had already seen supposedly the war to end all wars, right? And in World War I. And so now the beloved Guardian is saying, now we are facing this greatest battles of faith, this greatest battles, and that we have to arm ourselves with these three weapons. And I love how Roya Jan was talking about that we have to undergo this transformation, and she was explaining it so beautifully. And I let Roya Jan, you're doing such a masterful job. Please carry on.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we can continue to paragraph 62. And if I could ask Pat, Mr. Pat, would you be able to? Thank you.
Yes. It is upon you, therefore, my best beloved friends, that I wish to impress not only the urgency and imperative necessity of your holy task, but also the limitless possibilities which it possesses of raising to such an exalted level not only the life and activities of your own community, but the motives and standards that govern the relationships existing among the people to which you belong. Undismayed by the formidable nature of this task, you will, I am confident, meet as befits you the challenge of these times, so fraught with peril, so full of corruption, and yet so pregnant with the promise of a future so bright that no previous age in the annals of mankind can rival its glory. Wow.
It's beautiful. So here, just the few highlights that I wanted to make is that how the Guardian is saying the urgency and the imperative necessity of this implementation of this holy task, that this double crusade, and all the limitless possibilities. And then there is where is the, I'm trying to find, to raising to such exalted, third sentence, and for us to be possessing these qualities and to such an exalted level, not only in the life and activities of our own community, but the motives and standards that govern the relationship existing among us and the people of our nation. And so the urgency is imperativeness. He used the language early on as we must, as all of them emphasizing how vital and important the possession of these three weapons are. And of course, by now, within this much of the course study that we have done, Ehsan John has educated us in depth of those three weapons. The three weapons, we will explore them in the slideshow as the rectitude of conduct, a chaste and holy life, and freedom from racial prejudice. And of course, within the first two, there is virtues and qualities in which the Guardian has attached under that umbrella, and that we need to really have those memorized and to work towards them on a daily basis if we are to perfect them as a weapon and as an armor, individually and collectively as a Baha'i community. So now we can continue. Ehsan John, there we go. So the major key points were, of course, the twofold crusade of the American Baha'i community. The first part, regenerating the inner life of our own community. And then the second part, fighting the evils that have been embedded in the life of the American society. So the part where the community, like an individual, has a life that represents dynamics and activities associated with it. So then, how is it, the inner life of a community is represented by the collective beliefs and values of that community. So if we are to represent as Baha'i communities, as individuals, this standard that the Guardian has put in front of us, we need to exhibit those in our acts and in our motives and in the way we present ourselves and the way we live our lives in order to make that transformation. Okay, we can move on to slide 11. So here it says, in general, the collective transformation of a community depends to a great extent on the spiritual transformation of the individual. Obviously, we are making that point, that how could a community be transformed if each member of its community is not transforming individually? So the first has to take place in order for it to collectively take shape. And so for that reason, then the deepening of the inner life of an individual is mentioned as being a direct consequence of recognition of the manifestation of God and the resulting process of spiritual transformation. And so, there are references, and the slides will come, as many of us know that that the manifestations of God, the purpose of them coming, and the purpose of our lives and existence is this dynamic of the relationship of us recognizing the manifestations of God, and the transformation comes from following its laws and ordinances and obedience to what it brings. And so that is the connection that we are making, and the force that is behind the life of an individual, and the existence of man, and the love of God that drives this force for an individual to want to partake of this transformation. I see Pat has raised his hand. Please, Pat.
Just a quick thing. It just crossed my mind. You know, there's a bumper sticker. Okay, we've all seen it. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Okay, and we can all interpret that. The great difference is we don't need to interpret it because the writings are there. It is not up to our imagination or some kind of social construct to find a way. We got the way, we have the tools, but it neatly summarizes the business of being. How are we to be if we choose to act? In my limited experience of my almost 70 years, people see right through someone who's talking one way, but being a different way. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. The cohesiveness of our belief system and the teachings of Baha'u'llah to our daily lives and actions. And, you know, as trying to make connections as to what is the force for an individual to enable that individual or make him capable of responding to the call of God, because the call of God is obviously to transform our inner lives and to exhibit all these wonderful qualities and spiritual qualities and virtues that are in his image. And so as I was reading on that, and again, to some of the talks of Mr. Glenford Mitchell, he was talking about this consciousness that we have of our own existence, and then this consciousness of God's love. And to think of the intermingling of these two as an expression of divine love, that what drives us to every day work towards these qualities, these weapons as the Guardian refers to, is really the force behind it is love of God, love of Baha'u'llah. And that is what makes it possible, and that is what is the force that makes us capable of accomplishing that. So, and then within that, of course, you know, the two hidden words of Baha'u'llah I like to refer to, I wrote it here so I won't forget. Baha'u'llah says, veiled in my immemorial being and in the ancient eternity of my essence, I knew my love for thee, therefore I created thee. Engraved on thee mine image and revealed to thee my beauty. So this existence and love that is between these two positions of our existence and the love of God. And of course, another hidden word in which he says, love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Know this, O servant. So then we have to aim for whatever it is to create that beautiful, loving relationship that we have with our Creator, and the reliance we have on Him to help us every day, to make us accountable every day to reach for these standards. So I'm sorry if I went off track. We'll go to the next slide.
Beautiful thoughts, beautiful.
I actually wanted to say something before, because in that what you were sharing was really resonating, especially since a few years back there were global youth conferences, this actual theme of the twofold moral purpose was actually championed and actually really sparked and kindled the hearts of many youth worldwide. And to know this more in depth as we're continuing on this, and it's very exciting. Just even the understanding of how your coherence in your life directly relates and correlates to your community life and that social reality you can change is something that has emblazoned so many youth. So it's such a bounty to be here and learning with you all. So thank you. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
No, we're happy to have you, dear Jenny. We're happy to have you.
Yes, we are blessed to have you. Thank you. Okay, so we can move to slide number 12. So here, some of the major key points referred here are the type of tests that the American Baha'i community would be experiencing. That we are told by the Guardian that they are going to be intellectual and mental. That the mental tests are different from physical, where an individual may be threatened or imprisoned or tortured or killed in order to recant his or her faith. That a mental test differs from physical tests in that its main aim is to undermine the faith of the believer and to cause doubt in his heart. And if you remember, and we will have more slides that would reemphasize that the Guardian said in the attacks, they're going to undermine your faith. The attacks, their aim is to cause doubt and to cause, to make it take the validity of the faith to go away, that this is not the truth. And so our armor, in order to overcome these mental tests, would be the perfection of the three weapons that the Guardian states to us.
Excellent, Royajan. Excellent. The beloved Guardian says that we should not vacillate in our faith. Vacillate means, going back and forth, we're not sure, but have absolute certitude. And then in a later part, we talk about the level of faith, that we should be immovable as a mountain. This is how our faith should be like mountains. So this is when we're getting to the subject of tests, that what are tests and what are they designed for? Royajan is going to really get into it. It's very exciting. I'm so excited. Thank you, Royajan.
Hey, Ihsan, may I have
Please.
a question, sir? Yes. Hey, here from what I see here from the tastes, when you come to the taste, even the messenger of God, they've been tested when they come to this phase. But why is it tasted to be sent to us from our Creator? What's the bounties and the blessing behind that? And we are complaining all the time for the taste. And then how can we are moving to our spiritual transformation in relation to that?
Dear Tesfaye, hold that question. The answers are all coming, okay? The answers are all coming. Trust me on this one, okay?
Yes, yes, absolutely. We'll get to all of those, Tesfaye. Thank you for your questions.
All right, thank you.
So this is a beautiful, it's a highlight of paragraph 59, but a beautiful image that Ehsan has put here as to what the armor, when we talk about the weapons that the Guardian lists for us as an armor, our protection, and that the three weapons are rectitude of conduct, chaste and holy life, and freedom from racial prejudice. I will ask again, because I know Ehsan had done that. Do you all remember the 7 qualities that the Guardian refers to for the rectitude of conduct?
Trustworthiness, reliability,
Justice, equity.
Yes.
equality.
No.
No.
Equality is a good one, but it's not part of those.
Truthfulness.
Truthfulness, yes. Deborah, yes.
And fair-mindedness.
fair-mindedness. Yes. So then
Great job, everyone. Great job.
yes, beautiful. So justice, equity, honesty, reliability, trustworthiness, fair-mindedness, and truthfulness. And it is very important. I have written them all around. If we are to possess these as an armor and to perfect them, as the Guardian tells us we must, then we need to know what they are if we are to perfect it. So that's very important. And for chaste and holy life, he has associated 5 qualities for that weapon. Does anybody remember what those 5 qualities were?
Opening of paragraph 47. That's your hint, class. Paragraph 47.
Okay. Modesty,
Yes.
purity,
Yes.
temperance, decency, clean-mindedness, and moderation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dara. Yes. Thank you. So those would be the qualities that the Guardian associates with chaste and holy life. And of course, the third weapon is freedom from racial prejudice. So here, Ehsan Jun has put them in highlight so that we remember the 3 weapons because we want to perfect them. And because here, the Guardian tells us that the perfection of these weapons and the wise utilization of them is what will prepare this community, this North American Baha'i community, more than any other plan or material resource that we can come up with. So it puts it in the importance of how vital it is to the life of our community, the possession of these 3 weapons that the Guardian has put in front of us. And the armor, of course, beautifully visualizes it for us as is our protection from the attacks that will be coming to us. Okay, we can move on. Here, Ehsan Jun has put this beautiful, that without the armor will sink, and with the armor of God will stay afloat. It's a protective measure for us. So that's another beautiful visualization. Okay, and like I said, Ehsan has beautifully highlighted. We repeatedly go over certain parts of the paragraphs because they are so important, and that by going over them several times, we make sure that it's ingrained in our minds as to its importance. So here, besides the rectitude of conduct and chaste and holy life, it emphasizes as the third weapon, the interracial fellowship. This is the part Riaz John was referring to, that is completely purged from the curse of racial prejudice, which stigmatizes the vast majority of its people. That these are the weapons that the American believers can and must wield in their double crusade. First, to regenerate their inward life of the community, and next to assail the long-standing evils that have entrenched themselves in the life of the nation. Another wonderful visualization as to, we have the 3 weapons listed up there that we must wield and work towards its perfection. And then again, it's here how it's listed, that the perfection of these 3 weapons are more important than the 3 X's that you see there. That these 3 weapons are more, its utilization is wise and effective utilization, more effective than those 3 X points that it says, furtherance of any particular plan, devising of any special scheme, or accumulation of any amount of material resource. So, so over and over, the Guardian is trying to give us the guidance and the protective measures in which we can perform this holy task of the double crusade that is in front of the North American Baha'i community. Okay, we have a couple of slides. If we could have, Deborah, would you read these 2 slides for us?
Aim of devotions. We encourage you to think of devotional gatherings as occasions in which, drawing upon powers inherent in the Word of God, we gather with people of different backgrounds with the aim of eliminating racism from our society. That was a message for the Feast of Kalamat, dated July 11th, 2020. If you feel like talking about racism is too stressful, imagine what it's like to live with it. Good point.
Yes, yes. Very, very good points as to, again, the reiterance of this fellowship with the, with the races and the, the beautiful, pure, loving relationships that we need to develop. That would be the only way that as a weapon we could use in eliminating racism from our nation. There is, Deborah, would you like to read this one also?
It's important to acknowledge and discuss race-related incidents when they occur. To be able to talk about it is not easy, but we need to flex those muscles.
Another very important point that is being made, that if we don't talk about it, as uncomfortable and as difficult as it may be, how are we going to ever resolve or create any type of understanding or have any type of resolution or change or transformation within ourselves and the community as a whole? So again, here is another slide that reiterates from paragraph 59 about the 3 weapons that we must wield in order to carry our task of double crusade. And that to remember the 2 points of the double crusade, the internal and the external. The internal, which would be the inner life of ourselves and the community, the Baha'i community, and the external, to fight the long-standing evils that have entrenched themselves in the life of our nation.
Excellent.
So here now we are going to get more into the first aspect of the double crusade, the inner life of the community, and the use of the 3 weapons in the transformation of the life of the community, and like Pat referred to earlier, as how cohesive our lives and thought process should be in both. If I could ask, Dini, are you there? I can't see the whole of the faces. If you're able to read this slide for us. Are you there, Dini? Dini, you're muted.
The life of a community is influenced by the dynamics of the relationships of the individuals within it and the activities associated with it. Social to set and strive for common goals. The inner life of the community constitutes the collective belief and values of the community. Regenerating the inner life of a community requires the development of high ideals and values, such as the 3 stand defined by a chaste and holy life and freedom from prejudice.
Thank you, Dini. So again, here the emphasis is, how can we aim to transform the life of our community, and that how it needs to be so cohesive, and that the willingness of the members to set and strive for this common goal, that all of us individually and collectively need to be aiming for these goals that is put in front of us. And if you remember, how Mr. Glenford Mitchell referred to the Advent as the manual, then we are exactly, if we are to accomplish our task, our holy task, we have the manual. The guardian is specifically telling us what and how we need to achieve this holy task. We just need to make sure that every day we are very conscious in our thoughts as to what is the direction in which, what is our attitudes, what are the standards, what is our aim and purposes and purpose for life, in order to live cohesively as individuals, members, and as a community as a whole.
Roy, John, just want to make a mention of this picture slide on the right.
Yes.
I made this picture because singly and alone, rectitude of conduct, chaste and holy life, and freedom from prejudices,
Yes.
they're all interlinked. They're all connected. And so this is why I made it like cogs of that rotate together, because one that is truly has the principles of freedom from prejudices has to have the rectitude of conduct within their life, has to have the principles of justice and truth and equity and all of that within their life. So that level of connectedness. So this should be in the sense of these cogs moving together is what is animating a life of a Baha'i. And so this is why I showed this. This is like how that kind of like movement in that sense.
And I think, thank you for that wonderful visualization. And I think exactly like you said, and you know how the guardian referred to its perfection and its wise use, that we really cannot accomplish wholeheartedly this quality and the transformation that we need in order to carry out the double crusade if we do not possess fully all three. Like, we cannot just have one weapon perfected and totally disregard the other two weapons and think that we can cohesively move and be effective individually or collectively as a community. So that's a wonderful visualization and a point, Ehsan Jun. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And moving on.
We're moving on. Okay. So here, now we're talking about the role of the individual and how important it is in the collective transformation of the community. These come from two messages of the Universal House of Justice, in which they explain to us that the collective transformation of a community depends to a great extent on the spiritual transformation of the individuals. The Universal House of Justice explicitly states that the faith of the entire community depends upon the individual believers. Without the wholehearted support of each and every one of the friends, every measure adopted, no matter how well thought out, is foredoomed to failure. In another message, the Supreme Body states that the role of the individual is of unique importance in the work of the cause. It is the individual who manifests the vitality of faith upon which the success of the teaching work and the development of the community depends. There is this quotation on the side where it says, "True and lasting solution to correct ills can be found only by inner collective transformation of human beings." I think one thing that is so important with this point is a lot of times we can become a little bit maybe, and these are the negative forces of the society that come at us, that as Baha'is, we think that the community or the LSAs or the ATCs or these agencies are responsible for the carrying out of these tasks. And here, the House is specifically telling us that the responsibility is on the shoulder of each individual Baha'i. That without that participation, that wholehearted participation from all of us, we cannot transform the life of our communities. We cannot. It has to be very cohesive. So it needs to be, each of us need to individually see how we can work towards the perfection of these weapons that the Guardian tells us, and hopefully inspire and help others within our community to do the same, so that the numbers within the community increase, and therefore we will see with the same unity of vision where we are heading and what task we are going to perform, and that we can actually represent what the faith really is in its essence by our conducts. I see a raised hand by Paria.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I think that what's so meaningful about understanding this importance of inner life and the transformations that every individual is responsible to themselves first is that in what you were just sharing about the systems of the world and the patterns, is that each one of us as an individual also leads an outside life. We are teachers, engineers, doctors, lawyers, business, entrepreneurs, mothers, fathers outside of this realm. And we have leaders who lead our nations. We have systems, and we can see how our systems are failing because of the inner life that has not been transformed. And those inner lives are transferring themselves into these larger, incohesive systems. And as a result, they are causing this, if you will, these spiritual diseases that now we are being ailed with. Now we're trying to figure out, and the detoxification process is really this, the lasting solution, these rectitude of conduct, freedom of these prejudices, and leading a chaste life. And I just, I think sometimes transferring how that feels in the community, I just wanted to say that thank you for explaining it so clearly to understand this, the importance of how inner life affects the collective power, really.
Thank you, Paria. Thank you. We're truly blessed that we have so much guidance and love. Earlier we said from Abdul Baha to the Guardian to the Universal House of Justice, that it's right in front of us. It's just a matter of us studying it and taking it to heart and aiming for its perfection and implementation. So now further exploration on the inner life of the community. Again, here it explores, there's this visualization. Now little by little, the numbers increase and it can change and transform the community. It talks again about the three weapons that the Guardian refers to. The rectitude of conduct, chaste and holy life, and freedom from racial prejudice, while enhancing the patterns of behavior of the individual, which will then result in the collective transformation of a community. And in other words, the deepening of the inner life of an individual within a community results in the regeneration of the inner life of the whole community. So then the prerequisite would be that the change in the inner life of the individual that causes that change and transformation in the community. So the work starts with each of us. It's not somebody else's task, but each of us individually. Then this is another visualization of how you see the individual, then the family and the community, and how together it will, like, you cannot have one if the other two parts components have not taken place. So it has to be very cohesive. And I remember in all these months that we are studying this, sometimes the thoughts that are shared by the friends as to, how does it matter if what somebody does if you're in the privacy of your own chamber, or other things, when we were studying chaste and holy life. And then this really tells us that we need to be very clear as believers of Baha'u'llah, between this covenant that we have and the love that we have with him, as to how we are being obedient to his ordinances, not because of what we exhibit outside of the home, but who we are any moment of the day, even in the privacy of our own chambers, to be living in those standards. And I think Dr. Bayat referred to it last time as to the character of a person. The true character of a person is how that person is when nobody is watching. So again, those are indications that we need to be very sincere with our own consciousness as to what is it that we're doing? What is our belief system? What is our covenant with Baha'u'llah? And what is it that we want to accomplish? And not for any of the other forces that the society puts as importance, those negative forces. And the negative forces is not just affecting the life of our nation, it also affects the members of our Baha'i communities and our communities as a whole, where sometimes consciously or unconsciously, we think the standards we see on the outside also should be the standards we see within the Baha'i communities. But we need to be very careful and cautious as to our standards should be exactly what Baha'u'llah has put in front of us, and the clarifications and the guidance of Abdul Baha and the Guardian in front of us.
Excellent point, dear Roya Jan. There's several of these qualities that fall under rectitude of conduct and chaste and holy life that are internal, that nobody per se will be able to see it, and such as clean-mindedness. No one sees your mind, but we see the reflection of it in society. If you have a foul mind, it comes out eventually. And these are qualities such as the aspect of truthfulness. Truthfulness is the quality of honesty. See, honesty is the inner and truthfulness is in the speech. So if you're an honest person, internally, it will come out in your truthfulness of your speech. So all the qualities that are in your inner life, are you truly practicing this for the transformation of character? Because as Dr. Bide mentioned, this is where you are being honest to yourself and working on yourself. And this is a true character of striving to become a Baha'i. Excellent points.
I see a hand raised by Riyaz John. Yes. I think you're muted.
Yes, thank you. At the beginning of tonight's lesson, if I'm not mistaken, the beloved Guardian is warning us that we bring with ourselves the prevalent qualities of behavior, and oftentimes unconsciously we bring it with us into the Baha'i community. So I just want to make an observation that this can happen, and we may notice from time to time some qualities that we bring with us from the prevalent social interactions. We think we are doing the right thing, and this is how things should be done. But in reality, these are those bad qualities that are prevalent. Of course, in society, these are regarded as the standard, as the MO, modus operandi. This is how things are done. So we perfect them in society, we master them, and then we bring them with us sometimes, not always, occasionally, bring this with us into the Baha'i community and try to, you know, I mean, live them in the Baha'i community. So I feel we should, I mean, if we ever see such a thing, we should know, I mean, we should watch for it and notice it and not be disheartened and give up, because we all have our own defects and we bring these with us. And so we should not become disheartened that in the Baha'i community, some of these external qualities take place.
Excellent point, dear Riaz John. Excellent point.
And I think it was in part of our slides in which we said, as the individuals work on themselves, that hopefully by living that standard, that it will inspire and encourage others to join in. So it's a very loving, patient, patient process. It's not like, it's a spiritual transformation is totally on the will of the individual. That's why we were exploring that if it only comes truly from the desire of the heart of the individual and that clarity and the connection they have with God is that force of divine love that allows these transformations to take place, and everybody individually works on that divine love and relationship. Thank you, Riazja. Okay, now we are sharing some Baha'i writings regarding the inner life of the individual. Karen, would you be kind enough to read this slide for us?
Sure. Inner life of the individual. In the Baha'i writings, the deepening of the inner life of the individual is mentioned as the direct consequence of the recognition of the manifestation of God, followed by a process of spiritual transformation. His Holiness Baha'u'llah identifies the primary purpose of every revelation from God as the transformation of the character of mankind that will affect its inner life. In the Kitab-i-Iqan, he states, and yet is not the object of every revelation to effect a transformation in the whole character of mankind, a transformation that shall manifest itself both outwardly and inwardly, that shall affect both its inner life and external conditions. For if the character of mankind be not changed, the futility of God's universal manifestations would be apparent.
Beautiful. So again, we are going back to that relationship and the purpose of our creation, and this consciousness of how we can fulfill our purpose, the purpose of our creation, which in the beginning of the Kitab-i-Aqdas, Baha'u'llah tells us that it is the purpose of our creation is to recognize the manifestation of God for this day and to obey his laws and ordinances. It's right in the first paragraph of the Most Holy Book. And so this is again reiterating that in the Kitab-i-Iqan as to if by believing in him, recognizing him, if we don't obey the ordinances in order to transform, then what is the purpose of our recognition? What is the fruit of this? And I remember in one of the talks, I believe it was of Mr. Price, in which he was reiterating the numbers don't matter. We, as a Baha'i community, we are not after numbers or congregations. we are in the work of this double crusade that the Guardian has put in front of us as to the individual transformation and the transformation of the life of the Baha'i community and the community as a whole. And if we cannot do that transformation, then our activities or the mere existence of what we live would be fruitless. You know, it's just not going to be bearing any fruit if we are not willing to transform and to abide by its laws and ordinances. So it's a very powerful, loving guidance as to how this transformation of character takes place for mankind.
Roya Jan, want to share a thought on this transformation. Transformation is a word that means change, going through a process of change. And when we think about what are we ultimately changing to? You know, so we're something before and we're going to change to something next and then something next, just like, as they say, caterpillar turning to a butterfly, right? So, but what does it take for myself to change into these qualities and attributes that we have been going through, such as truthfulness and equity and justice? And it's more love of Baha'u'llah needs to enter into our hearts. And this is really, are we becoming that greater vehicle of love? Because everything we talk about, every single thing that we've talked about, from the rectitude of conduct to the chaste and holy life, as you have been mentioning, it's all about obedience and love. Really, obedience and love. The more that you fall in love with him, the more that you burn with love with him, this is, you start becoming a recreation. You start transforming. You go through a chrysalis stage, you know, and you literally start changing because your love animates you. And so this is the process of transformation, where initially was the seed of faith that is planted in your heart. When you say, I believe, I recognize, that seed of faith is planted in you. And then when you start on your journey as a Baha'i, then that is the process of transformation happening. When you start really the search and then the love happening, that transformation happens within your heart. You start blossoming and you become that beautiful creation that your Lord was wanting you to become. So please, Raja, you go ahead.
Thank you for that wonderful explanation. We can move on to the next slide.
And this is the same quote, it's just in.
That's right. Well, you know, I said earlier, our teacher, wonderful teacher, he is very masterful. The main points are put in multiple slides because they are important points that need to be read and looked at more than just once. So this one is again that quote from the Kitab-e-Iran, that isn't the object of every revelation to effect a transformation in the whole character of mankind, a transformation that shall manifest itself both outwardly and inwardly, that shall affect both the inner life and the external conditions. That is.
Before we go to Riaz Jan, I want to stress this. In this one small extract from Kitab-e-Iran, it states the purpose of every revelation from Abraham to Moses to His Holiness Jesus Christ to Muhammad. They have all come for this transformation of humanity so that we become this, as it says in paragraph 28, again, paragraph 48, to become a new race of men, to create an ever-advancing civilization. So they have slowly been building on each other, working to create this possibilities of inner transformation of humanity that will eventually affect the external conditions of all humanity. So let's go to Riaz Jan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have some news, good news for the friends who are present. sure, this transformation is what we aim for. This is our aim, our goal. But we have excellent news that every step of this transformation is clearly stated in this brand new revelation. Of course, in the previous dispensations, there were these steps were referenced sometimes in symbolic way, but in this new revelation, that is the promise of all previous revelation, every step of this transformation is recorded in the words of the manifestation themselves, the Baha'u'llah, and then later Abdul-Baha and Shaykh Effendi, House of Justice. For example, to elect a spiritual assembly, we're told exactly what qualities we should have to elect, what qualities of those to be elected should have, and in what spirit this should take place. And so everything is explicitly in the writings of the manifestations themselves, in the holy writings that we have. And for example, take the hidden words for the 7 valleys or the hidden words. The hidden words is every one of those hidden words is a detailed demonstration of this transformation. So we are extremely privileged. All we have to do is open these books. I mean, we keep referring to volumes, the revelation of the Bab, the broad revelation of Baha'u'llah, and the works of Abdul-Baha and Shaykh Effendi and the Universal House. All we have to do is open their writings, and it's all explicitly there, how this transformation needs to take place.
Thank you. Thank you, Yasra.
Thank you.
Okay. We can move to this is another one of those beautiful quotations. Ultimately, the power to transform the world is affected by love. You are channels for this divine love. Let it flow through you to all who cross your path. And we have talked about that divine love as the source. And another quotation from Socrates: the secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. That's true. And another one: let him who would move the world first move himself. Again, these are all very much balanced to this transformation of the inner life of the community that we said it cannot happen without the individual transformation first. Same thing. Yes, all wisdom. If you truly want to change your life, you first must be willing to change your mind. From Buddha teachings.
This is from a great philosopher. It says, changing the world begins with the very personal process of changing yourself. The only place you can begin is where you are, and the only time you can begin is always now.
Success is dependent on effort. You know, this is so powerful because, you know, I animate junior youth groups for several years I've done. And we've often talked with the youth about that it's, you know, effort is a huge part. You know, you look for God's confirmations, but can you receive God's confirmations without effort? No. Can we really do anything that is worth of some quality in our life that will just come easy without effort? And the answer is no, that there is great effort and exertions on our part to develop these qualities and characteristics and work on it every day. Yeah.
This is a great writer, James Baldwin. He writes, people can cry much easier than they can change. Means that, it's much easier to, bask in our sorrows and, oh, it's so hard, than actually go about and change ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is from my great Calvin and Hobbes. I wrote, change is invigorating. If you don't accept new challenges, you become complacent and lazy. Your life atrophies. So change is invigorating. If you don't accept new challenges, you just become complacent and lazy, and your life atrophies. So we have to change. Change is good for us.
Exactly. Even the simplest of routines, I think, it's we are creatures of habit, and we tend to do certain things, whether we are conscious of it or not, and then it becomes something that we're no longer conscious of. And even in the animating of the junior youth group, we often talk about it. Even if it's simple routines, it is good for us to change things up, and that makes us more conscious of every moment that we are living, and why we are doing what we are doing. And so this is again another beautiful quotation from The Guardian. Love for each other, the deep sense that we are a new organism, the dawn breakers of a new world order, must constantly animate our Baha'i lives. And we must pray to be protected from the contamination of society, which is so diseased with prejudice. So again, the love, the life of the inner life of the community, that we really it needs to be bonded in love and in unity and common goals that we are aiming for, which are right in front of us as to the world order of Baha'u'llah. Okay. Would you like to read this one, Sanjay?
I included this one because I found it very interesting. It says, being rude is easy. It does not take any effort and is a sign of weakness and insecurity. Kindness shows great self-discipline and strong self-esteem. Being kind is not always easy when dealing with rude people. Kindness is a sign of a person who has done a lot of personal work and has come to a great self-understanding and wisdom. Choose to be kind over being right, and you'll be right every time, because kindness is a sign of strength. And I recall in an earlier paragraph when we were talking about the example of the beloved master, and it talked about his level of tact, his level of his kindness that he displayed, and his wisdom that he used in his speech and his behavior. So and I'm sure not everyone was, kind to His Holiness Abdul Baha, but how much kindness he displayed. And it is how Abdul Baha chose to be kind rather than be, right. And his kindness was right. And that showed his true strength of the beloved master.
Okay, now we have more writings from The Guardian, and I would like if we could have Dennis. Dennis, can you read this slide for us, please?
And before Dennis reads, this is two messages to Alaska, to all our dear Alaska friends. So this is to, yes.
Regarding the significance of an enhanced inner life, the beloved guardian attests that if people only realized it, the inner life of the spirit is that which counts. They are so blinded by desires and so misled that they have brought upon themselves all the suffering we see at present in the world. The beloved guardian then highlights that the duty of the Baha'i is to lead people back to a knowledge of their true selves and the purposes which they were created, and thus to their greatest happiness and highest good.
Beautiful, beautiful. So again, here the guardian is guiding us as to the only reason for our creation is the development of this inner life of our soul, and how, this is all the other things that we are exerting so much energy and time on are totally of a mere illusion for this material physical world, but yet they consume so much of the life of the people of the nation, and then the one thing that really matters, which is the development of the quality of our spirits, is on many occasions totally neglected. Okay, now we have a whole bunch of quotations, and maybe we could have, let me see, who have we not had to read? Marianne, are these too small for you to read? Can you read these quotations? Or some of them? Marianne, you're muted, my dear.
Oh, okay.
Are they big enough for you, the lettering?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful.
Okay, it wasn't until I began to work on my inner life and know myself that my life changed. Success really does begin within. The size and quality of your outer life is not only limited by the size, is only limited by the size and quality of your inner life. Personal growth work can be both exciting and scary, and may include the process of discovering disowned parts of the self, making peace with yourself, and becoming the best that you can be. It is a journey to wholeness. Merrill Hershey Beck. A vibrant inner life is far more powerful than a busy outer one. David Romanelli. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle. The man who has no inner life is a slave to his surroundings. Willpower means nothing. Only the unsayable, jeweled inner life matters. Rumi. As you live deeper in the heart, the mirror gets clearer and cleaner. Rumi. Whenever your inner life is beautiful, your outer life will flower. The secret law of blessing. Through love and sincerity, continuously beautify your inner life in every way by daily looking into the mirror of introspection. No one can bear his beauty face to face. As for this reason of his perfect grace, he makes a mirror in our hearts. Look there to see him. Search your heart with anxious care. Fariduddin Attar, translated by Afham Darbandi and Dick Davis.
Thank you so much, dear Marianne. Thank you for that wonderful reading. A lot of words of wisdom, and all of it emphasizes the importance of the inner life of our soul and how earnestly we are working every day to develop it.
This is a subject of the inner life that is, I think, maybe second to love, written, on, love is a subject that more books and more writings are written on. I think the subject of the inner life is maybe second to that. There's so many wonderful writings on delving into our soul, delving into working on this aspect of coming closer to who we are and developing us to become the best you that you could be. So it's a subject that there's so much written on, and I encourage you to read, and because this is something that to become the best you have to understand what has been written and delve into yourself. Thank you. And we're also getting close. Well, we're actually a few minutes over. Yep. So this will be our last slide of the evening. So first of all, I want to give a round of applause to dear Roya John. She did an excellent job. Really so proud of her. And so next week, we'll pick up where we were. And at this point, is there any questions for dear Roya John? Or that or myself or anyone that's at this point?
Well, I wanted to thank you, Ehsan John, for this learning opportunity, because like I said, you're a wonderful teacher, and I think if we not look so much in our own weaknesses and frailties, and be able to build capacity in others to find some levels of strength, so that we could all lift each other up. If we are to all serve shoulder to shoulder, we need to be getting up and standing out of our comfort zones, and see how we can serve and lift each other up. And I want to say that, and I've shared that with you before, that it's only the love of Baha'u'llah that gives me the courage to do these things, because naturally I'm a very shy person, and public speaking is it makes me very, very nervous. But on numerous occasions for the faith, I've had to overcome my own personal discomfort for the sake of the bigger picture, and it has enabled me to develop the capacities that I didn't think I have. So I'm appreciative of that, and I hope that I was able to do justice to the beautiful lessons that Ehsan John had prepared, and that you were all able to walk away with the same amount of learning that you
way more. Dear Roya John, I want everyone to unmute themselves and say these beautiful comments on the right, on the chat, because I want them to, so she hears these comments. And so, because you truly rocked it, as our dear Dennis McGregor said it, you rocked it. It was beautiful, So I let my dear friends, you say it, you share these comments to you, because we're very proud of you.
Thanks, Roya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roya.
Thank you. Thank you.
Exceptional, Roya. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. I
Thank
love
you.
your lovely job.
Thank you. Thank you. Dennis McGregor is, I don't know if he remembers me, but when I was youth, 18, 19, in Dallas area, we were both in the same junior youth group at the Dallas Baha'i Center. And so when I came here, I said, because yeah, so I moved away from home pioneering post 35 years ago, and I hadn't seen him since. So it's wonderful during this class.
That is beautiful.
They're still 29.
So, dear friends, we're at that point. My dear friend Dawn always reminds me impeccably of the time, and so Do you have a closing prayer, my dear friend Don?
No.
Oh, what's up with that? So does anyone have a closing prayer at this point?
Donna, would you like to say closing prayer?
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, lead them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Baha'u'llah.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you, Roy John. It was an excellent class. Excellent. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye,
Have a blessed
bye,
night.
Jen.
Thank you.